Silver bells, silver bells. It's Christmas time in the city.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 10 Very Big Books Christmas Edition. I am your host today, AJ Fileri, and with me, you got to keep going.
I don't know. I know more of the lyrics. It's Christmas time in the city.
And with me today is my good pal, Josh Baker.
Ring-a-ling, hear them ring.
And also with me
Soon
is resident jukebox
Christmas
Pete
Day.
Bond. Hello, Pete. How's it going?
Hello.
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks.
I hope you all have your lyric books and you're ready for
holiday style.
Dressed in holiday smile. I like that. It's very chipper. It's very cheerful. Unfortunately, due to the metropolitan infrastructure of New York City, India is not with us currently, but there's a chance maybe she'll pop in later in the episode.
Is Silver Bells public domain? No. Here's your answer.
That's parody, you know?
It's parody, yeah. I said smiles.
Actually, let's just talk about the history of Silver Bells really quick, so it's fair use.
Okay.
Smart.
Welcome to 10 Very Big Books. It's obviously a Malazan Readthrough podcast. We're delighted to have you here. What were you about to say, Pete?
I'm dying for India to show up is what I would say. But I have to say, I think we should put forward, we formally retire that joke, AJ. I know it's something I've done all the time where you're like, obviously, this is a Malazan podcast, you know? And in the words of you, that's hack. And I don't want to...
I did not say that. You said that to me on a call this week.
Okay, and then you said that's a great idea and said it back to me.
So songwriter Ray Evans originally had written it as Tinkle Bells, and then his wife was like, "Hey, that means piss," and he didn't think about that, so he had to change it to Silver Bells.
Oh my God! Yeah, good call. What was the wife's name?
It doesn't say because sexism, baby.
Thank you, wife. Because holy shit. But I don't know. Also,
thank you, wife.
I do kind of wish it was Tinkle Bells. Tinkle bells. Like, isn't that? Anyway, sorry to those of you who do not celebrate the holiday season.
So, Josh, AJ's like, oh, my new cat's name is Persephone. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, is that Persephone spelled with R's? And AJ looked at me dead in the eyes and said, that's hack.
None of that. I mean, some of that happened, but you said it was hack.
And
we were not looking at each other.
Okay. Yes, AJ avoids my eye contact.
I remember vividly we were facing away from each other, actually.
Ray Evans' wife's name is Wyn, W-Y-N.
Hey, that's a win for Wyn. Josh?
Hey, AJ, that's hack.
Google historian Josh Baker over here.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's as good a cold open as any, right? Or Pete, did you have something else to input?
Well, we'll see how much of this ends up on the show.
Most of it.
Yeah, that is something I say a lot, and you almost keep... I'm always like, AJ's going to cut it out. You never do.
Unless you explicitly ask me to cut it out, I'm not going to cut it out. Because I think it's funnier to be like, surely that will get cut down.
Yes.
Well, India mentioned she'll be home soon, so perhaps she'll be joining us.
Do we just stretch the intro until...
Part of me was like, are we going to do a really long intro?
What group is she texting that I keep not seeing this?
Well, she likes to iMessage, so she created a separate chat.
But it's also on MTA. Frequently, you can only get Wi-Fi and not actual cell service. So that's her excuse, but I don't know. I just don't think she likes the green bubble.
That's fair.
That's a very common complaint that I just do not understand.
100% do not get it at all.
Crapple, am I right? Let's get into the chapters for Dust of Dreams.
Chapels. Chap.
No.
Yeah.
Right. Take it again.
Chapels.
Okay.
Here we go.
Chapel.
Go into the chapel and
gonna get married.
Wow.
There we go.
Great. Chapter 13. Silchus Ruin speaks to Rudalal of Draconis' demise, the refugium, and Rudd's true name, Ryad Alace, or Hands of Fire. Silchus says they must go meet Koraba, the Otateral dragon. Sandalith, Dracorla, and Withel, along with their Nox, give chase to the Sheikh, only to find that they have escaped. Sandalith talks of Andy blood, and the couple continue through the gate Yontovis has opened. Withel's horse is immediately decapitated, covering Withel in blood. But before the attacker can finish the job, the three Nox transform into massive beasts and beat the Forquerl assail that attacked them into a fine paste. Sandalith speaks of the Jaghut chaining Soul-Taken and Divers, and suggests they confirm the death of the Sheikh and get out of there. She is worried about Namander and the others, and Withel tells her not to worry. Badal thinks of the fallen and who tells their stories, and how adults have no room in their heads for a suffering column of dying children, nor the heroes among them. She thinks about how she could make these fallen into a book, 10,000 pages long. Calith dreams about death and finds Whiskey Jack, Mallet, and Cage sitting around a fire. Whiskey Jack tells her they're waiting for the world to catch up and that they have been posted to Hood's Gate in the Reaper's absence. He tells the Destriant to call for them when no other choices remain, and that she will have to lead the K'chain Shamal soon. Calith wakes from her dreams and sees that Kor Thurin has died defending them, and that Garul is missing. Sog-Charak thinks that the time of the K'chain Shamal has come to an end when he senses an approaching enemy. Calith beckons the bridge burners only to come face to face with 14 dead Jaghut warriors. Sag-Charak stays and watches the Jaghut fight and laugh. He thinks he will never forget that laughter. Sin kills a K'chain, and Grub thinks something is wrong. They talk of Duiker, Kalam, and what has made them. In the underground city, Sulkit, the drone, sees the ghost of Icarium. Icarium thinks of his body, his life, and blinking. Okay, baby, it's chapter 13. I just remembered I wasn't on the last episode. Rest in peace, Tool, you're a real one. This chapter,
you're kind of tuning back into the content. Your brain's on. We're thinking Malazan now.
My brain is on. I'm nice and warmed up. I don't know if you heard the engine kind of like come on in the middle of that chapter summary, but
Sandalith,
Dracorla, and then I started flawlessly speaking some made up language in the books that I am for some reason unable to come up with. Are there any languages that we have like come across in these books?
Thankfully, not that I know of.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean, it's always alluded to that there are these different languages, but
we're never like Melon, we're never.
No, I don't really. I feel like usually they're like, oh, the bloody blah's tongue, or like, I like they'll reference language, but I don't actually remember him naming them. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I mean,
I'm sure there's an exception. There's so many fucking words. So
yeah, I mean, I am kind of about to prove you totally wrong because this first section, Siltrus Ruin's like, oh, your real name actually is Ryad Alace, which means hands of fire. So like that is another language.
But does he go, actually, we call this the blank tongue?
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
Which is really my point.
Yes, yeah, okay, got you. Hands of Fire.
Hands of
Pretty
Fire.
Cool name. Josh, what do you think about Rudd's, like, I don't know, apparently Menendor like knew that Rudd was going to have to save the refugium by leaving it, and also that maybe he's kind of dangerous but also powerful and X,
I just
Y.
think it was just really bold of the writers of God of War, the remake, and God of War Ragnarok to just like read Malazan and just rip it off. I mean, they waited till book 9 to like find the plot line they wanted to use.
Wait, what are you talking about?
Well, I mean, we see have you not played the new God of War games?
I haven't played Ragnarok. I played 2018.
Oh my God. I mean, Atreus was just like created to be the prophesied child who's just going to like save the giants. And I mean, what's Rudd doing if not that?
Spoilers, Josh. Spoilers.
Dude, that's from the first remake. All right.
Yeah, it's only 4 years ago. Anyway,
that's all I got. Sorry, I just beat the game like 2 days ago. It's still on my mind a lot.
Oh, hey, congrats. Wait, 2018 or Ragnarok?
Ragnarok.
Nice, congrats.
Congrats, gamer.
Also, we get a reference to the Ototaral dragon.
Hell yeah.
That has a name. So that's thrilling.
Carabas, when you hear your family.
Carabas. Is that when you hear your family? Is that what it is?
No, that's Olive Garden.
Okay, but Carabas does have one that's like, we're fucking Italian.
Okay,
like,
that's oh, that spelling. Yeah. Sorry.
Carabas motto. Their slogan is non se amor più sincero de quello del cibo.
Great.
According to a 2002 article.
Josh, I'm going to guess that's exactly how you pronounce it.
Oh, yeah. There is no love more sincere than the love of food.
There you go. What? Okay. Pete, you're always really hot on the Shake stuff, understandably.
Yes.
What are your feelings about this Sandalith Withel storyline intersecting with the Shake stuff? Were you surprised that they were the ones that shot the sons or whatever or something?
I definitely remember being surprised that the storyline kept going. I feel like, I feel like I do group them into these buckets of, I feel like when some characters get introduced that they're on the screen, they're a big, this is going to be a big thing. Yeah. And I kind of thought their storyline was going to end at Midnight Tides, but it doesn't, obviously. And I enjoy them in this book, and I actually think they're kind of fun, and I kind of like them as a couple, is my official opinion.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what do you think about this kind of dynamic between them currently?
I don't know. What do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I don't know. I was kind of a little weirded out by it, I guess. Not weirded out. It's just why is she being so mean to him for no reason? But I did appreciate him standing up for himself. I thought that was nice. But I just I guess I just don't understand why she's so on edge. I guess because she's worried about her kids. Is that what the conclusion?
Well, I mean, she also got the weird fortune telling stuff in the Deck of Dragons reading where she's Queen of Darkness or whatever.
Oh yeah, they were there, or she was there. That's right.
I imagine that Anne Amanda Rake has been the Lord or King of Darkness for ages, and so now there being a queen, she might be worried that something's happened or gone wrong. Which, spoiler alert, she's right.
Yeah.
So
interesting. Josh, do you think you would have a connection to humanity if you were a ghost for 2,000 years and then brought back to life? Do you think you would still think of yourself as a human?
Look, man, I don't like other people already. And I've only been here for 28 years. So sure. I don't think those 2,000 would be kind to me.
Pete, what do you think? You look pretty pensive about that.
Yeah, I'm really thinking. I don't know. I feel torn. I feel like there's a chance that actually you are filled with love,
Yeah.
And you're kind of admiring life and the richness in it. But also, obviously, I think there's a chance you kind of become a crazy, insane mad.
Well, there's definitely a world where you become a mad person, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But
I know it's interesting, too, not to interject real quick,
please,
is to think of it from her perspective, too, of not only did she go through that, but now she is also, again, immortal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's been in it for the long haul. We don't even know how long she was alive before the 2,000 years she spent as a fucking ghost.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then to come back and then find someone you love, but then to be told no, actually, you're going to be in charge of your people now.
Yeah.
Do
you think she loves Withel, or do you think she just sort of appreciates him and his company and finds an affection there? Because you can only she. I think they even get in her head, and I don't know. They talk about how he gonna die.
Yeah. I think there's love to be found in this kind of affection. I don't know if it's a traditional kind of whatever, head over heels in love or whatever you want to categorize it as. But I think there definitely is, kind of a tenderness and appreciation of each other in there. And even in these scenes when she's being mean to Withel, he's like, why are you like, he is confused by that because, she has treated him not like this the entire time they've been together. And I think we see in either Last Book or Reaper's Gale when they're together, and it is like really like they do love each other. Kind of. I think there's a scene of them in their bedroom or something, which I appreciate.
I agree with almost everything AJ said. I do feel like there's a type of intimacy, kind of a casual intimacy in the relationship that I read. But I don't know. Yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
My 2 cents.
Yeah. Josh, I gotta ask what you think about these Nox becoming huge monsters.
It's really good.
And that being the whole setup for the last 5 books.
It's really, really good.
Yeah.
Because I've hated them for so long, and now they're my boys now. I love them. I've always loved them. They're just big dumb demon boys who've been Nox, and it's very good. How and why? Who cares?
Who cares?
I've stopped asking those questions.
Here's the thing about the Nox I want to mention, and I think it reminds me of one of my favorite characters, Ursta Hoobutt and Pinasol.
Forgot about Ursta Hoobutt.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. Where part of me is like, just my gut's telling me it started as just a bit. My gut's telling me this was just a bit, and then Erickson kind of ran with it and spun it into a much larger thing. Which I'm very pro, but it's or maybe that's just the experience of being the reader. But I always find those things very funny. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see the idea of like, let's give them these silly little monsters that follow them around being the starting point. But then before writing, Midnight Tides or whatever, are already knowing they're going to turn into these huge monsters. But like coming up with the initial idea being like, they're going to be dumb, annoying monsters. It's going to be really funny.
But we've talked, Steve, several times now. I mean, this pegs me as like classic Steve. Well, I've written them into a situation. What's the logical way to get them out? Oh, the Nox were demons all along, and now that they're back in their home realm, sure.
All right. Okay. What, AJ?
Well, I was just gonna say, I feel like having them connected to the Jag Hut though is like, I don't know, ties them deeper to, or gives them like a deeper lore to me than just like, well, this is just what makes sense for this situation. I feel like this had to have had forethought,
All right, can I somewhat drive us off a cliff for a minute?
Sure. Vroom, vroom, baby. Knocked style, smash our show into bits.
I'm knocked and loaded, baby.
It was really good. It's really good.
Whoa.
All I'm gonna say is we're here on the show, and some part of me is like, am I not going to share this? Is this too niche of a thought? Who cares? But no, we're on the Malazan show. I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
So I do feel like sometimes, not that I care. I just want to say up front, I don't care. Okay. That's my main takeaway.
Good start.
However, I think there's a lot of like, oh, actually, every word and every single thought and everything was so carefully considered, and it's all part of this master web. Is, I think, a story some people like to tell about pieces of art that they want to seem great or masterpieces or whatever. And certainly that language is used around this series sometimes, And that everything being super carefully considered is an important value or something that makes everything more intentional and adds some sort of depth. Sure, maybe you feel this way. And I feel like people talk about Malazan sometimes this way. However, I think we all know through, I know death of the author, I guess, but, Steve's, through not only our interviews with him, but other interviews, it's clear that he just follows some storylines and goes organically into different places, And I personally enjoy doing that when I'm doing storytelling, but, I guess he does too. I think many people do. I think there's these various approaches, and I feel very frustrated because I don't think they go against each other. No. Like they go against each other in what like the story of writing the book or film was. But I don't know. I'm not all in on this. So I don't know. This is just I didn't stick the landing of the conclusion, but this is just a frustration I have. And what was the Nox story? I don't care, but I had a good time,
Yeah. I mean, I think I get what you're saying. And I think with this series in specific, it's like the world is really considered and known, and like Steve and Cam like know everything about the world, and therefore they can like come up with a thought like, oh, the Nox are actually demons who were conscripted, whatever, or created by the Jughead, whatever the lore is. Like they can come up with that stuff kind of on the fly, but have it make sense because they know their world so well. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's where some of this stuff comes from, because like we've also talked to Steve and asked like, do you storyboard stuff out? And I'm pretty sure he said that he doesn't.
No, he just sits and writes.
Right. He just sits and writes and knows the big story beats he wants to hit. So everything in between that, you know, I think is just by virtue of him knowing the world that he's created. So like having such a firm grasp on it, which I think is, you know, another really admirable thing about the series. Not to say that it's better or worse than storyboarding out your thoughts and stuff, but
yeah. And I think that's what I feel frustrated with, this idea that like everything needs to be whatever way. I mean, I don't know. It feels like it's going against the idea of organically, like, you know, someone organically doing something creative that, yeah, I don't know. I just, whatever, man. I sorry I drove the show off the cliff. I think it's a good thought. And I think it was, you know.
Plus you warned us, so.
Yes, thank you for warning us. Yeah, I had my seatbelt on. But no, I think it's a conversation that this series warrants having. And I think it's, you know, it's really just kind of a matter of time at this point that we have that kind of conversation. And I think now is as good a time as any to get those thoughts out there. Josh, do you have any feelings about it? Or
nope.
Okay. Speaking of telling stories, Pete, what did you feel about the Badal stuff, talking about the stories of the fallen? And
can I before you do, it's not often you get to see someone look into the camera and like say the title of the movie you're watching, you know? Mm-hmm. But for this character to be like, if only there was some way to tell these tales of the fallen.
In maybe it would be like a long book.
Like 10,000 pages or so, mass market paperback, give or take.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that hit you?
Well, I asked you.
Well, what I mean by that to Josh is... Like, does that land as a joke to you, or does that land as like them, what are you reading?
Sitting here now after AJ wrote these words, it's a joke. When I was reading it, I made zero connections. I just read the words on the page.
Wild.
So did not really put two and two together there. Mostly because whenever I get to those sections, I essentially skim it because it's so sad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, well, it's a huge bummer. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try to keep my life as few bummers as possible.
Yeah,
and that's why I've been enjoying Dust of Dreams.
Yes.
But no, I mean, I think I don't know. I think this stuff this hit for me when I was reading it. Because it's not the first time that we've talked about, you know, who are the fallen and who tells the stories of the fallen. I remember I remember specifically bringing it up a few books ago when somebody had said it and being like, "Oh, the fallen aren't just dead soldiers. The fallen are." You know, everyone affected by this system or whatever. It's probably Midnight Tides. I don't know. That feels like a Midnight Tides thought. But yeah, I don't know. I liked it, and I think it's a good passage. It's well written. But what did you make of this, Pete?
Yeah. No, I mean, I enjoy this section as well. Unfortunately, I find all of this stuff very interesting. And I don't know. It just the vibe is so bleak. But I do feel drawn to Badal and kind of, I don't know, there's something about that childish point of view, but it's obviously a very, I don't know the words, burdened childhood, you know, I don't know, you know what I mean, that I do find compelling. So I enjoyed reading this section, and I usually, these are not bummer sections for me to pick up.
Yeah, the thoughts are very... like genuine, you know, kind of unfiltered.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah. Which is why I think the lines being like, if only somebody would write a book of the fallen, which is why I think it's just because it's a genuine thought that a kid would have or something. Yeah. It's like that's why it doesn't hit like a joke in the moment.
Yeah. Because he has such a kind of sincere and straight, I don't know, genuine. I shouldn't have tried to one up you. You did great, AJ. I feel blown away. So
wow, thanks. I was pretty blown away. Man, I hate doing segues, and I like force myself to do them for some reason, and they're never like I never have a fun time doing it.
Anyone ever ridden a Segway though? Any of you guys?
Josh,
No.
this is a joke you gotta retire.
Have I done this before?
Josh, anytime I've ever mentioned a Segway,
Wait, what's the rest of it? I need to know the rest.
There isn't. I actually, this was just a curious question. I was wondering if either of you guys here, if you ever
Josh,
ridden a Segway.
I just feel like it pings in your head and you're like, I gotta bring up Segways right now.
Yeah.
So Caleb has a dream.
Caleb has a dream.
One of those classic Malazan dream not dreams where she runs into Whiskey Jack Mallet and Cage. Is Cage a bridge burner? We know.
Cage.
No.
This section rules. What's up, baby?
I believe Cage says that he died in the Montwood. So
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you. Pete, what'd you love so much about this section?
I don't know. Fucking rules, brother. What do you mean? It's like you're there. We're in the classic Malazan. What are the rules zone? And then where are we and why are we here? No one actually knows in the scene. And who's that? A new character. And anyway, but this particular realm, Blast. You have all the bridge burners back. They're hanging out, and more importantly, it's just a good vibe. And it's like Caleb's meeting them. I don't know. I had a great time, and you can't take that away from me.
No, yeah, I think it's great. The boss called in sick, so you send 3 of your supervisors to do whatever the boss is doing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we can actually do this job better than him, which I thought was funny. But I do think that, I liked that line of like, we still remember what it was like to be alive, so we're not, whatever. Is there an implication here, Josh? Did you get the implication here that Caliph died and she was supposed to go through Hood's Gate and they were like, nah?
No.
Okay, well, all right.
No.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I just didn't know if it was like, oh, well, we're in charge actually, so it's actually not your time. Head back, find your shield, anvil, and mortal sword. You'll be fine.
I did not get that vibe.
Sure.
Interesting take on the scene, though.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like everything is so up in the air. I feel like...
And look, it could be true, AJ.
Yeah, I could be right. So let's just say I'm right and we'll move past it. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, we never call it out, but I'm going to call it out here because I always feel weird just like slotting it in. It's time to talk about the Ka-Chain Jamal. The Ka-Chain Jamal. There you go. There was the stinger.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to sing it, Josh. I've got it. Wait, have you not heard that?
I heard it the very first time because I think you put it on YouTube.
Okay, cool. I don't. I mean, it's anyway. Whatever.
You sent it in a way I've never listened to the podcast, so I couldn't have heard it that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm really excited about? I was just thinking about some upcoming storylines you guys are going to read, and I'm just excited for you guys to read them. So that's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Great. I'm also excited now. Wow, thanks.
I just wanted to share those good because they're very unexpected, and I think there's plots you guys.
Well, now I'm expecting.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think you're expecting this. I don't think it's
We're actually going to transition into a hive of bees, actually, and then it's going to be
interesting, very avant-garde,
and it's going to be 20 million years ago, and we're going to follow them to becoming the Ka-Chain Jamal, and that's going to be the rest of the books.
And AJ, as fucking dumb as that was, could be an epitaph, whatever they're called.
Epigraph, yeah.
There it is.
I think the real twist, you guys open up book 10, is just a full-on biography.
Softcore porn.
Okay.
Why not both?
Yeah.
Sure, it's kind of an erotic biopic about Howard Hughes. So
Or like a bio dick pic, am I right?
All right.
Woohoo!
Sorry that this is the energy I brought to the show.
No, it's good. The bio in that case stands for biological because it's a biological picture of a penis.
Yes.
Anyway, I guess that'd be anatomical. Anyway,
it's kind of postmodern. It's kind of
Ka-Chain Jamal are here and they're being attacked and Kayla's like, don't worry, I've got these bros. And then these 14 Jaghut warriors show up and are like, yo, the Ka-Chain Jamal are fucking dumb as shit. We'll go attack these guys though and you'll be fine. Josh, what did you think about this? I thought this was
one of the more badass scenes of the series so far.
Yeah.
If you were like, Josh, what would be a sick superpower? I wouldn't have immediately said calling 14 dead immortal warriors to my side, but in retrospect, why would that not be my answer every time? So, who are all incredibly angsty.
Yeah, she Elden Ring style rang the bell and then they all just showed up.
It's really good.
Yeah.
I did imagine all of them with like very dramatic cloaks.
Whoa, interesting. Whenever I think of Jaghead, except for like Hood and Gothos, I imagine them like completely shirtless.
Well, I've learned a lot about you right now, Jay.
It's kind of a dream, I guess you would say.
Yeah. For me, it's kind of like when I imagine them, in terms of physique and overall aesthetic, I really go towards Street Sharks.
That's good.
That is the vibe I get, which is
That's the peak male form.
Oh yeah, you may not like it, but it's
you have to admit this is peak performance.
You can't say it's not.
Yeah.
Pete, there's a little moment here that I really liked, and I'm curious if you grabbed onto it at all. Of Sog-Charok looking at Gunthmok and Calith and taking note of how Gunthmok is like contorting her body so that Calith can be more comfortable on top of her. Did that like ping anything for you at all? Because I thought that was a really neat. It conveyed a lot in one like sentence.
You mean from like a characterization point of view?
Yeah.
Characterizing who? Sog-Charok or Gunthmok?
Gunthmok, I would say.
I don't have a huge comment about that, but I will say I do think those little details go a long way, and I think Erickson's very good at adding them.
Yeah. I definitely think it's just like a well-written line, whether it means anything or not. Like whether she later, it's like Gunthmok has severe back pain and can't run anymore. I think that would be silly, but I don't know, it could happen. Moving on from these Kachane to another Kachane that gets ganked by Sin, and she starts bleeding fire.
Yeah,
Is that...
I didn't catch that this thing was a Kachane, but not like I just thought it was a big snake.
Yeah, I also thought it was a big snake, but the Tor reread says Sin kills a dinosaur, which...
That's not the same, though.
Well, I wouldn't say a snake is a dinosaur.
Yeah, but I also wouldn't say a dinosaur is a Kachane Chamal.
Well...
Kachane Chamal is like a distinct humanoid-ish
Well, Kachane Chamal is
race.
Specific. That's why I just said Kachane in the summary.
Well, how would you know that the Chamal is the root form of dinosaur?
Because there's Kachane Naruk and Kachane...
All right. Hey, Link. All right, Mr. Etymology.
What did you think of this, Josh? What did you think of this Sin and Grub stuff? There's some tension between them. They get into a little fight, and they're different, okay?
I don't care. I find it so hard to care about these two teens because one maybe is a fire, goddess, and the other one's a fucking weird boy. Sure. They may as well go to Professor Xavier's school for gifted shit. Like what's what they are, and they feel so out of place.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, right? Is I really despise most of these, like, hey, here's a pair of people you don't know much of, and they're going to go do a thing. I always start off not liking them, and by the end, I'm like, I would kill for them both,
Sure.
So I'm sure, like, by the end of this book, I will like them, but I just feel like, and Peter's not enjoying my train of thought right now, but I just feel like
Body language expert Josh Baker over here.
Yeah, well, you can only roll your eyes so many times. So, I just feel like I have not spent enough time with Sin specifically to really feel invested, and she's being kind of obnoxious right now. So that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Josh, what do you think about the conversation they had about like what made them? And they kind of recall when they became weird kids.
I mean, that part was pretty funny. I'll give them that. All right, I did like the self-referential stuff. I was pretty into it.
I just thought that stuff. I just call it out because I thought it was pretty interesting because there's not a lot of time where that we spend with characters. We've done it a couple of times with like, we got kind of some Fiddler backstory stuff and, some other backstory stuff. But like, we don't do this a whole lot where we talk about like, hey, what happened in your past? But it never happens where it's like, hey, what happened in your past? Oh, let me tell you about what happened in book 4. Like we have been there for those events. So I think it's just interesting for them to recall that stuff.
I mean, maybe it goes to show that maybe the author himself thought maybe the audience needed a bit of a refresher on these two,
I do have to say, I was like, when
wait
Grub
a minute, pause.
okay.
Pause. I forgot. Actually, pretty cool shit that maybe Grub wasn't born and was just created. That shit's wild. However, I do not know how much I trust Sin. And I mean, I'll tell you this, I don't remember much from when I was, 3 years old.
Yeah.
So, and I guess it would go a long way towards explaining the constant unexplained age of Grub. So.
Yeah. Pete, did you have any feelings about this exchange between Sid and Grub?
So I will give my thoughts, and then I will share what I was doing whilst I was away.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with anything Josh said, and it's completely wrong. I missed a little bit of the follow-up because then I took my headphones off to do important work.
Sure.
But, yeah, so time to share my thoughts.
Oh, sorry. What's important work? Okay, I'll be right back.
All right.
Nice.
So, according to my quick calculations, I believe all but book 5 have a rogue duo going somewhere to do a thing.
Yes.
If I'm correct, I could be mistaken. I'm struggling about 1. However, Lorne and Unos Talon go on a journey. So maybe 1's a maybe. 2, easy. 3,
can you remind me of 2?
Mappo and Icarium.
Yep. Okay.
3 is another one I'm a little confused on. What do you think?
I feel like it could be Silver Fox and Maib, maybe.
No, they're in camp too much. My thought was maybe Talk. Like, he's a far, but he's not.
Yeah. I mean, they're not a duo, but Talk is with our group that seems completely.
I feel like 3 is a maybe. 4, Troll and
what's his name? What's his name? Oh shit.
I don't fucking remember.
And
I have no idea what we're talking about here.
Scrappy duos in the books. On rack.
Udanos?
6. Oh, sorry. So that's 5. That's 4. 5. Yeah. I don't have one for 5.
I feel like this has gone on too long. What are we getting at?
I'm just saying it's in almost all of them. I have no conclusion. I did the math.
Okay, I'm glad I got to the end there.
Yeah.
There's 1 and 6. I forget who it is. I don't know.
Leomin and Karsa.
Play along at home. I don't know. 7. There's those 2. They're out there.
Yeah.
Who is it in 7? I forget.
I feel like 7 is all like the Udanos group.
Well, see, that's what I'm mixing up. Who is literally 2 people versus what I would consider like spiritually the people are wandering a far distance to a thing,
Yeah. Anyway, so then we're in the underground city and we do some Icarium ghost stuff. I have to admit, guys, every time we go to this group, my brain turns to fuzz. I cannot grasp onto anything that happens in these chapters.
Agreed.
Or in these sections, which feels unfortunate because it's Icarium stuff and Featherwitch stuff, and they're like ghosts, which seems super interesting. But every time we go down there, something about the way it's written, I guess maybe it's more like, I don't know, they're like ethereal beings, so the writing is a little different, and I just like can't grasp onto a thing.
It's like the vague dream scene in one plot line, but the whole time.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, bud.
Yeah.
Spot on.
But anyway, so that's chapter 13. Hey, just quick thank you to all the patron people. We don't have any new ones because I did them when I recorded or when I edited the last episode. So thank you all so much for backing the show.
Preach. Do want to just quick slip in since we're in the business zone. We started Instagram. I don't know if AJ plugged it. Go follow it. India runs it.
Yeah, I plugged it at the end of the last episode, but not everybody listens to the credits. So
not everyone listens to this either. True 10 Very Big Bookheads listened all the way through.
Yeah, it's just 10 Very Big Books on Instagram. The link is in the show notes now, so you can head there too as well.
I've never skipped an ad in my life. I always listen straight through the podcast ads out of respect.
Straight through. Out of respect. Josh has put a sweater on.
I had to slip into something more comfortable.
Wow.
Naruto.
Holy fucking shit, Josh. What the fuck? Why do you own a Naruto Christmas sweater?
Josh just rolled up in a Naruto Christmas sweater.
What is happening, buddy? Oh my God Christ.
Should we move on now? Actually, when you're hearing this, hopefully, I'm hoping to get it out by the end of this week that we're recording. So hopefully last week an Andor episode went up on the Patreon. Pete talking to our friend Nathan, who we've talked about Star Trek with him. We've talked about the Willful Child books with him. And he's also a Star Wars head. So Pete and Nate sat down, talked about Andor, and that will be on the Patreon for just $3.
Nice.
So all that and that and everything else that we've ever put on the Patreon for just $3. Patreon.com/10BigBooks. The link is in the show notes. Thank you so much. Let's move on. Chapter 14. Gaul of the Burned Tears orders the raids to stop. He talks with Vedeth about Malazan's strategy and people using their brains. Vedeth thinks about the truth that all soldiers and leaders share, and thinks that tyrants rise from the mob to repeat the past over and over again. Rava and Conquestor Avalt make it through the pass, but their company is not doing great. They set up camp. Shield Anvil Tanakalian tells Mortal Sword Krukava the Balkando army is done, and that a captured scout has confirmed Galt's march to the capital. Tanakalian thinks about the weaving of the stories of heroes and the masks heroes must wear to do the things heroes must do. Gaul is preparing to parley with the Balkandoan king and a strange turtle-shelled Barghast. The Balkandoan queen, Abrastal, prepares to parley with Gaul, along with the Gilk Barghast war chief Spax. She makes a joke about Tool, and Spax tells her what hobbling is. Good vibes. Gaul arrives, and they talk of the Evertine Legion, the Perish, and the Bone Hunters, before Gaul gives his demands, some food and water to allow them safe passage through the wastelands. Abrastal is surprised and agrees, but tells Gaul she will provide them with double the provisions, and that what they will find beyond the wastelands is terrible beyond imagining. They agree to peace and will arrange a meeting with Tavor or Krukava. When Gaul leaves, Spax tells Abrastal that Gaul was right about the Malazans. Gaul returns to camp and orders the Burned Tears to pull back. News arrives that Vedeth died due to an accident with his horse. Gaul's wife recalls Vedeth playing with their son that died before he was 7. They talk of memories put away, loneliness, and motherhood. Tonight, they will eat together as a family. When you summarize these chapters, they really come out smaller than you, like there's a lot less happens in them.
Anytime I've ever read these summaries, you're always like, wow, that's pretty short and also really easy to understand.
Really simple. Yeah.
Really simple, straightforward stuff.
So, Josh.
That's me.
I'm going to need you to help me here. Because anytime the Burned Tears or the Balkando army or any of the Malazan army stuff comes up in this book, it's similar to the Icarium stuff for me, where it's just like, so I don't know. I mean, this stuff's kind of straightforward now that I've summarized it and written it out. But like, what did you make of this Gaul stuff? And we see a scene with Rava and Conquistor Avalt kind of doing their goofy thing, and then this all leads to the parlay. What did you think of all the stuff before the parlay? Like, were you tuned into this or what?
Well, so if this was another fantasy series, if this was any other like long fantasy series, I would really only be appreciating the comedy, right? As it is, I appreciate the comedy. It's great. This army, this whole nation of fucking dimwits, you know, can't do anything right.
Sure.
You know, they're losing soldiers left and right. They're led by a competent queen who's hampered by her incompetent king and all the noble people. Very funny stuff. And this was like, even if this was a Corbel Butch and Bokalane thing, I would only be focused on the comedy. As it is, this is main series Malazan Book of the Fallen. And so underneath all of it is a constant sense of what bullshit, like completely believable thing is going to completely fuck the good guys. And that it might not happen. We might get through this, in which case it's just been a fun romp and we've seen our good guys, you know, flex off their skills. But that does not happen hardly ever in this series. And so that is kind of what's underneath of this the whole time I read it, you know? You know, Gaul's gonna get food and water from them.
Yeah.
I think this queen's honorable, but who's to say that food and water isn't delivered by some corrupt person who uses that as a chance to poison people? I don't know. We see, you know, that scene where we see what are their names? Conquestor Avalt and
Rava.
Rava
and Avalt,
that when we see that scene, you know, I to me what I see is someone who is not going to learn a lesson from this experience and who is likely to do something dirty and underhanded that our relatively noble good guys might not see coming. That's pretty much all I think about.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't happen, in which case I'll look back on this section fondly as an example of these fucking dimwits don't know how to fight horse fighters and don't know how to march properly. Good stuff. But that would be a rare thing in this series.
Yeah, I feel like Rava and Avalt specifically, like there have been a couple of times where like we get, you know, silly leaders or silly soldiers or whatever, but like Rava and Avalt are like comically evil. You know what I mean?
Yes,
they're like twiddling their fingers together like, ooh, evil.
Yeah.
And so like, but in this world, even a silly evil person is still an evil person. So I think you're totally right, where like they could just like be like, well, fuck it, we're going to do whatever we want, because they're only thinking about their immediate surroundings and not any implications for any larger or anything. Ever.
Exactly. So,
which is horrifying.
And there is still the underlying, you know, thing with the shield anvil, you know, and not having told his mortal sword about what's going on there. And I think that's going to have ramifications that I couldn't possibly figure out what they're going to be yet. But so that's kind of what I think about throughout all of this.
Yeah.
There's also the fact that there's Barghast here, and, you know, we know that the Barghast are on a path right now to possibly just fully betray their Malazan allies, if that's what this new war leader wants. And so if this random Barghast gets in touch with the main force, there's every chance that they go, hey, you know, they're going to be here to pick this up, blah, 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 ambush. I don't know. Shit like that could 100% happen, and I would not be shocked at all.
Do you feel like there's a world where Rava and Avalt, Tanakalian, and the Barghast all kind of converge at one event, and it's just like an absolute shit show?
Yeah. Well, if that happened, it's a 50-50 that the good guys die or all the bad guys fuck up badly, because that is also a Malazan thing.
Yeah.
So
part of me feels like this book being such a bummer, like these three you know, antagonistic forces could all come together and slip on a banana peel, and like that's just the book trying to like lighten stuff up before we get to 10. But I don't know.
It's tough though, because to me, like, all of the quote unquote good guys make it to Calance. Why would they be split up right now? I understand why, like, I understand the logic of why they're split up, but like from a writing perspective, I don't know why I would have so many disparate things if there weren't going to be consequences to them being split up. Like, that's kind of where I'm at with that.
Yeah, because this doesn't really read as a story of people coming together. I think you're right.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know, the main Malazan force is still so far. And maybe that's what it is. You know, maybe the Bone Hunters are the ones that are going to be really screwed over by what has happened, what their allies have done. You know, maybe that's going to be the issue.
They're going to show up and everything's going to be burned to the ground.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it is very rare that you murder and sack your way through the countryside of a country, and then they're just like, and here's your reward, goodbye.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Pete, what do you think about all this stuff up to the parlay?
Yeah, I agree with a ton of what you said. That's why I was kind of just hanging back in Vibe City.
Well, then, then let's move on to the parlay itself then. What did you think about this conversation between Abrastal and Gaul?
Yeah, it's interesting to have Gaul kind of step into a bigger position in this in this whole scene sequence. You know, they're also interrelated. So I enjoy that, and I enjoy seeing this scene with him. And yeah, I think that's what I'll say. Yeah.
Sure. I won't ask you about any of the promises or anything.
And I guess I will add one other thing, because I don't know how much more else I have to say, but I do think I really love the final scene in this chapter, and I just think it's I don't know, hits me and makes me feel emotional, I would say.
Yeah, the whole, I mean, this whole chapter basically is just Gaul centric.
Yeah, it's Gaul time.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting, because I mean, you know, typically when stories do something like that, they're like getting you prepared for them to die. You know, but in this case, for this chapter at least, it just brings us to a pretty, you know, it's sad, but it's a very real, kind of authentic, genuine, like,
yeah,
this dude's just having big feelings about his family, and, you know, like what it means to be a person. You know, I think that stuff is really nice.
Yeah, 100%. And as someone who is constantly filled with surges of emotion, I could relate, you know?
Yeah. Josh, was there anything in the parlay specifically that you think is worth touching on? I mean, I think it's a lot of just like kind of what we were talking about, of just like kind of iffy vibes the whole time. And then we're like, yeah, we'll give you food and water. And then they leave.
I mean, I think the only thing, you know, the biggest thing I have is that you do not set up a warrior queen with an unbeaten army under her control without that somehow coming into play. Maybe she goes with them off to fucking fight clans. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, she said that
pretty sick.
She said
she's gonna take him to the border, right?
She said they'll take him to the border, but maybe farther.
Yeah, so maybe we get a cool Bakondo queen. That sounds great. How does this interact with her 14th fucking daughter on a boat with Shirkalao? I don't know.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Holy shit. And then we get that final scene with Gaul in the camp, hearing about Vedith's death and thinking about these memories he put away of his young son that died, and thinking about how lonely he is and all that. I thought this was a really great piece of writing, and it made me really emotional.
Yeah, definitely.
But some great stuff, in there. And I feel like, I mean, this series is a very emotional series in some ways, and we see people in very, you know, in turmoil emotionally and mentally and etc. But I feel like this moment between Gaul and his wife is so small.
Yeah,
you know. And is just so real. Like, thinking about it right now, I'm getting emotional again, just because it is so, like, you can take away the rest of the other 10 books or the other 9 books and just have just this section, and it is just like a very real bit about a man just reckoning with his past and stuff, and feeling lonely even though he has, you know, 7+ kids, and all this stuff. Just a really great piece of writing, a really great meditation on what it means to be lonely and stuff. I think it's really good. So
it's a shame India's in here, but you know, I guess I feel moved to share that I have really been enjoying my reread of Dust of Dreams. You know, I think it is, I'm enjoying it more than my first time. And I was just curious to kind of check in with the two of you and how you are feeling 60% of the way through the book or whatever.
Yeah. I think there's definitely a couple storylines that haven't hit for me yet. This Balkondo storyline hasn't really hit with me anytime we've read about it, and then the ghost group isn't really hitting with me for some reason. But I think by the end of this book, I will be so hot on them, because I feel like they both feel like they're leading to big things, and I mean, we're approaching the end of the series, so hopefully that's true, I guess. But I mean, as of right now, I'm having a great time reading this. Like, every time I finish a chapter, I'm like, that was a pretty solid chapter. Like, I haven't had one yet where I'm like, except for that one, that was all the Balkondo stuff that I just could not latch onto. But that, I'm going to say, is more my fault than it is the content of the book or whatever. So I'm having a really good time. I think this is going to end up near the top of my list at the end of this season, at least. I think it's going to break top 5.
Jaybird?
I just think this book is doing a really good job of placing its cards on the table, like, one at a time. And I'm like really feeling the way that they are pacing this, the way that it is being paced and how much information is being shared because of the pace that we read at is awful and I hate it. But every time I pick the book up, it really grabs me and I just want to get to the next. I want to get to the end to have any idea what is happening.
Yes, I totally agree. Agree. Yeah, I think the pacing of this book is really good.
Well, thanks for that. And we'll have to ask India when she's on the show. Yeah, it's a shame India couldn't be with us today. I know she really wanted to be here. So sorry about that. But I think we'll all be back on the show for next episode. And you'll hear from us then.
Cool.
Let us know what you think of the show at 10 Very Big Books.
I'll be back in the credits. When I hold on, wait. This is a thing that I've wanted to do since we've done the rotating host. So, you guys say goodbye here. When I say come, you say passion. Come,
passion.
And I will be right back with the credits in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. Producer AJ here at the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you'd like to give us your thoughts or feelings about this or any of our episodes, you can always email us 10verybigbooks@gmail.com, tweet us at 10verybigbooks, or you can head on over to Discord, bit.ly/VBB Discord. That's capital V, capital B, capital B, capital D, Discord. That link will also be in our show notes. Thank you to all of our wonderful patrons over on Patreon. If you'd like to financially support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/10verybigbooks. That link also in the show notes. And as always, thank you so very much to Dan Gesrick for making our spectacular cover art. You can follow him on Twitter at @A_W_Dan_G for flyers, lottery tweets. Thank you as well to resident planner layout expert Scout Wilkinson for the special art she will be providing for this season. You can follow her on Twitter at twitter.com/humblegoat. And of course, the wonderful music in today's episode, including the remixed intro and outro track, is by the one, the only Amaranthan from his album Simulant Rain, which you can find along with his other music on bandcamp.com. Links to their pages will be in the show notes. And 10 Very Big Books will be back in 2 weeks on January 20th, talking about Dust of Dreams, chapters 14 and 15. I'll talk to you then, and thank you so much for listening. Chapter summary, no jutsu. Is that funny?
Chapter summary.
That was rough, AJ.
What was that?
No jutsu. That's a Naruto thing.
It's like a Naruto thing.
Oh wow. Sorry. Sorry, I'm not boned up on my Naruto knowledge.
Boned up.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a phrase.
For perverts, maybe.
No, I have an ugly Christmas sweater party this weekend, and while we were in the mall today, we found that there's like a nerd store.
Oh no!
And Josh, it was between this or a One Piece sweater that just was Luffy's fucking face, and I was really close to getting that one. But
Josh, what sucks is I was enjoying not knowing and just living with the knowledge that Josh, you're just the type of person who owns a Naruto sweater.
I'm excited because
however, Josh, I am actually not sad because that's the world we've entered now. Because 3 years from now, will you have that sweater? Yes. Will you wear it again? 100%. Yes. So
because I was looking for a sweater. I was looking for a sweater that I was like, what's a sweater that I will own for the next decade of Christmas parties that I will be okay with explaining, and it's this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It's gonna be a problem for next year when Tara and I throw our Naruto sweater Christmas party where you're not allowed to wear Naruto paraphernalia. So
all right, well, I got bad news.
Is Boruto allowed? Am I good to sneak in?
Oh yeah.
With the younger generation?
If I come in and say this is actually Naruto as a Hokage, therefore from the Boruto series.
Interesting.
Look, buddy, I got bad news. I'm gonna be there. Believe it.
Yes. Okay. Here we go.
We ended the bit.